Morning everyone. So it's the Dreamcatcher. We're on to chapter 17 and I've realised we might not get this finished before next Friday, so I'm going to just continue to read until a set time and then I'll stop it rather than just reading it in chapters. So chapter 17, Dropping Secrets. Ignore the hounds, Alfie had said after they'd eaten the porridge Brunt had thrust in, and sleep as much as you can today. You'll need your strength to get past the vapours later. Alfie couldn't know what waited for Moll in the darkness of her dreams, though. The rattle and the drum prized their way in, beating inside her mind. And when Moll awoke to the late afternoon sunshine, searching for cracks through the withered trees, Skull was there, standing in the cage with them. His mask was absolutely still, his fingers laced beneath his chin. They hadn't heard or seen him unlock the cage. It was as if he'd slipped in like a shadow. Moll shuffled backwards, pressing herself against the far edge of the cage, next to Alfie. She could see Skull's pupils, and they were looking right at her. His feet were bare, cracked. Beneath his dark robes and around his neck hung a fanged necklace. Moll knew the fangs, recognised their shape, adder fangs loaded with poison. She looked up at the grey eyes peering out from the sockets of the mask. It's only a mask, it's only a mask, she said to herself. So you're the child from the bone murmur, the one who walks with the beast. Skull's voice was a rasp like a snake rattling deep within his throat. The one standing in my way. Moll clenched her teeth and leapt up, but Skull lunged forward and pinned her against the cage by her shoulders. Alfie shifted further away, his head bent low. Skull's eyes, lashless and pale, bored into Moll. She squirmed, but the witch doctor only tightened his grasp. So, who are you? The eyes blinked once. You're a Pecksniff. Your eyes say so, and you've got the talisman. MP. He paused. What's your full name, child? Moll shook her head. My name's my own business, Skull. The mask hung before her, centimetres from her face. Then Skull seized her neck, holding it in ice grip. Give up your name. Moll kept her lips tightly shut. Raising his hand, Skull brought it down hard across Moll's cheek. Tears stung her eyes, but she didn't wince. He hit her again, harder this time across the back of her head, and Alfie watched from the side of the cage, noticing that Moll didn't even move her hands to defend herself. Skull stood back, a column of black. We're bringing you into the clearing soon because there's someone keen to see you, someone who's been searching the deep wood for you, just out of your reach. Moll's heart thumped. A dark tongue flickered behind the bone teeth of Skull's mask. You'll call your wildcat close for us. Brunt'll see to that, and once we've got you both, your pathetic bone murmur will be broken and a new power will emerge. Moll tucked Griff's name into the deepest pocket of her mind, safe with her own. The wildcat isn't tame. He won't come when I call. It doesn't work like that. Oh, he'll come when he sees what Brunt's got planned for you. Moll shook her head. Oak will find the amulets before you lay a finger on me or my wildcat. You'll see. At the mention of the amulets, Skull's body stiffened. So you know about the amulets, do you? His voice was sharp like a thorn's prick, and then he laughed. And Oak's got you thinking you're actually going to find them. Some tiny girl succeeding where all of your ancestors failed and your own pathetic parents couldn't see it through. Moll's fists were pumped with fury and she pushed forward. You leave my parents out of this. You don't know what you're talking about, and whatever you might have done to them, I'll get you for it. But Skull's eyes had glassed over. He wasn't even listening. He was looking at Moll, carefully, quietly. He grabbed her chin in an iron claw and drew a deep breath in, as if he was drinking in Moll's fear. You know something about the amulets. I can feel it. Only that we're going to find them before you get your hands on my wildcat. You're lying to me. I can smell it. Skull slammed Moll's shoulder back against the cage. It clanged and she groaned as the impact shuddered through her. But now she knew that Skull cared about the amulets. They mattered to him as well. Wait! Alfie stood up, his voice low and guarded. She's not telling the truth. Moll's breath caught in her throat. She looked at Alfie in disbelief, and then a sinking feeling slid over her skin. Skull released the pressure on Moll's shoulder and turned to Alfie. Well? Moll bit her lip. What was she thinking, trusting a boy in Skull's gang? He'd probably been put in here just to trick her into giving up information. Alfie met Skull's glare with unreasonable eyes. Her father left her a bone reading, a clue to the whereabouts of the amulets. Moll closed her eyes, willing Alfie's words to disappear. What had she done? She cursed under her breath and kicked the cage. Where is the bone reading? Skull asked, clasping his hands. Only then did Alfie look at Moll. In Oak's camp. He still has it, but she told me what it said. Stupid girl thought I was someone to be trusted. A way out of the deep wood. Moll's heart was fluttering. What was he doing? Alfie shrugged. I forced it out of her. Turns out I'm better at guarding little girls than you thought. Skull blinked once very slowly. What did the bone reading say? Seek village blacksmith. Might be nothing as she's the lying type, but she said it in her sleep too, like it was pressing on her mind. Moll couldn't believe what she was hearing. Alfie's face looked open and truthful, and yet his lie was as thick as they come. He picked at his nails. She isn't sure why the blacksmith's important, but it's a lead and one you'd be best knowing. Moll smirked inwardly. Clever Alfie. The village blacksmith lived in Tipplebury, which was north of the forest, and they needed to head south to get to the heath. Brunt had appeared by the cage. On seeing him, Skull turned and locked the door and stepped out. His cloak twitched with excitement as he clicked the padlock shut. Hoist them up, Brunt. We've got a lead on the ambulance. When night falls, Gobbler and I'll be off to the village. Brunt's enormous muscles worked with the lever, lifting the cage back into the trees. Waiting for night, he smirked. Sounds like you mean business. Skull's mask dipped, a smile perhaps, then he looked up at Alfie. I was thinking of letting you out, but you're doing well in there with that. His eyes shifted inside the mask, drilling into Moll. Let's get one thing straight. Oak's given up on you. He isn't coming back. And with that, he stalked off. Why didn't you try and defend yourself when Skull hit you? Alfie hissed. Moll glanced at her wrist. Promised you I wouldn't let them see you cut the rope, didn't I? Alfie looked at her for a few seconds, then he shook his head. You're strange. Most people would have tried to shield themselves. Moll shrugged. Well, I'm not most people. And anyway, it'd be a dull world if everyone was the same. She paused. Thanks, I mean, about the blacksmith. Alfie half smiled, and to her surprise Moll found herself smiling back. They watched Skull and Gobbler lead the hounds down into the pit, hurling slabs of meat inside to appease them. Moll turned to Alfie. I think I can get us out of here, but you've got to trust me, he whispered. I'm not going to cross you. I'm not going to give you away. And somehow Moll knew that was true, and she did trust him. And you, plucking at her dress, do you trust me? I'm not sure. You left me before. Moll looked him squarely in the eye. She had to show Alfie she trusted him if this was going to work. It's Moll, she said quietly. My name is Moll. Alfie thought about it, then he nodded. As soon as Skull leaves, I'll get us out. He needs the darkness as much as we do. He reached inside his pocket and drew out a long, thin bone, a rabbit bone, took it from the pit, and lucky for you, there isn't a lock I can't pick. Moll grinned. The boys will be drinking in the clearing tonight. Alfie said that's what they do when Skull goes off, that and the beatings. If they've drunk for too long, he looked away. So this is our only chance. If we miss it, Skull will get you out into the clearing and make me call for Griff. That like he'd answer to a whistle or a call or something stupid like that. She froze. She'd let Griff's name slip out into the open without a second thought. Alfie sniffed. Griff, that's a good name for a wildcat. Moll looked down at her feet, tears stinging at her eyes. I'm full of cracks, she mumbled, none of them letting any light in, all of them dropping secrets out. She kicked the cage. I won't go telling his name. Alfie straightened himself up. But don't let it slip again. They've got ways, dark ways, of controlling people and animals when they know their names. You and Griff need to keep your names safe. Moll nodded, shaking the ropes from her wrists, but Alfie was looking at his feet, avoiding her eyes. If there's a chance anywhere in all of this, if we get out, I want to get Raven. He shouldn't be in with Skull's boys. Moll nodded. Can Raven really recognise himself in a mirror? Alfie nodded. And he knows good silver when he sees it. He lifted up his hands. There were 2 spiked silver rings on his fingers. Raven's forever nibbling at my gypsy fighting rings. Except you're no gypsy, Moll thought to herself, but again she kept quiet. That could wait. For now, they had to escape. I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.